Who knows how big 6 feet is? How big is that? It's like this big? Bigger? It's bigger than this.
Yeah, their wings are years out at sea. They also, what type of water do you think albatrosses drink? If they're out there on the ocean?
Hey.
Dennis.
Dennis.
He dives really deep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so you.
It was okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought. That was the first time I did that. Yeah, and it wasn't expected. I wasn't expected to have that feeling of, releasing it. Yeah, so.
What does this mean to the kids? They've obviously been studying about endangered seabirds.
Yeah, they didn't know anything about the birds, so to have that information about it and realize the importance of the birds living here on Kauai and being part of this island with us, that was really important. They were excited. I think it helped to learn about, the background of the birds and why we need to protect them. They're a lot more aware of it and looking around for it and what to do if they find one. So it was really important for them, and they're excited.
Streaking and streaking, if you've ever been out to Kilauea.
There's one dancing over here now. Look at this.
Just like that. What type of bones were there? Solid and dense? No? It takes some less energy to fly in the air than to sit on the surface of the water or to walk around on land. Some people call the lace-head albatross goony birds because they look really goofy when they're walking around on land and they flap just like that. But they're actually really graceful and amazing flyers. Just like that. Does anyone have any questions? Are you all excited to see a bird? How do they know? It's debated. I don't know.
Well, like some of the stuff with the work that we do up in the mountains, with all the chicks, we sometimes put little bands on the birds, and there'll be a little band.
But birds can, and they also use the trade winds, and albatrosses really, and all seabirds have really strong senses of smell, so that really helps them as well.
The kids are gonna love this one. It's potentially free, but we need ones for the potentially one
It's just taking its
at
very
the
first
Humane
flight.
Society is ready to go to
Okay.
by this afternoon. So we'll have 2 birds for sure.
Okay. The one that's fat and heavy. I mean,
That's in grams.
is that a bad one to do for a release?
Well, the problem is they have a lot of trouble flying. We've
Yeah,
noticed that.
yeah.
So he's more likely to come down very quickly into the.
Tell me what you were doing there with the birds.
So I'm a technician for Save Our Shearwaters, and before we assess them before we release them. So we just check their weight. We take some morphometric measurements that can be used for scientific studies later on with build depth and width and their shape of their head. And then we also feel their pectoral area to see what their body condition is to see if they're safe and able to fly. And if not, then we'll bring them back in for rehabilitation where they'll get fed and fluid therapy before they're deemed ready to release into the wild.
And quickly, your name again?
Krista DeRasp.
Spell both, if you would.
CHRSTA DERASPE.
Great. Thanks, Krista.
Special to us here, and why is it important for us to do this today?
The runner-ups, huh?
Anybody?
Tracy
You?
said that sometimes they get a little shy, stage fright, and they won't fly.
Yeah, this is where the A'os live. Almost all the world population live on our island here. And so every single one of them that we have, we have to
weighing
take
them,
special care
make
of.
sure that they're good enough condition
because
to be
this is your guys' birds. This is what you guys get to enjoy. It's so special about your island. And what is important? What you learn from being out here with these birds? Did you with this release? Is it an important thing to do? You know, do you guys think we should try to really protect our birds and give them a home to stay, just like you? Yeah. It's a very unique call that we could definitely hear when the birds are flying over, and that's very important. All right. Well, I think it's good. We're going to have you guys. This project is started. It's been, I think, over 10 years. This project has been going on, and it started together with the forest bird project as one project, and then we split because the seabirds and the forest birds are actually two different entities. You know, it's a totally different environment where you're studying both of them, and so we split off, and then we've started monitoring the seabirds on the island and looking for where their burrows are, because for a while they didn't even know there was any more on the island, that they're way up in the mountains. And so it's hard to get to some of the places that we go. Most of the time we get flown in by helicopter and dropped off on small, narrow, steep ridges, and that's where these birds primarily find their home.
You've been doing the releases for school kids for a number of years now?
The releases have gone on, I don't know when the first releases have gone on, but it's been going on for over 4 years, I'd say.
And the birds you release, where do they come from? How did they get into rehabilitation?
The birds that we found to release are birds that are actually chicks in the mountain that have been raised up by their parents since it's early in the year. So in May they lay an egg, and then they raise that chick, and then that chick develops and becomes older and ready to fly out to sea. And when it takes off for its first flight, it actually is attracted to lights. So when there's lights on the islands, it sees lights, and it confuses them a little, and so they circle the lights until they get kind of exhausted, and then what we call crash. And so they land in these places down around towns and developed areas where there are a lot of cats and a lot of other predators, and that's where we try to have a lot of the community keep watch and take care of these and find these birds, and then they bring them to the Humane Society, the Save Our Shearwater program, or they bring them to the fire stations where there's little containers where they can put the birds in that they have found released or where they found crashed out or as fallout birds. And so those birds we then check over, make sure they are fine, and we go over as if they will be able to fly, and then we'll bring them out to here. And today what we were doing is a program with 4th grade classes on the island here. Today we were with LALA school, elementary school, and we are showing kids the birds and the importance of trying to protect these birds on their island. That is pretty much the only home that these birds have. And so we bring them here for a release and allow the kids to witness the release of a bird that will now spend the next couple of years of its life out at sea before making its way back here to Kauai. The Newell's shearwater is definitely a very endangered species. Its numbers are dropping dramatically, and that has come from a whole slew of issues out on the island. There what we're here today for is the light pollution that they're attracted to. And so if we don't get to them in time and to release them, then they will, potentially be attacked by cats or dogs, or run over by cars out on the roads. It's or just never seen again out in the bushes, because it's not windy enough for them to take off from a spot. But then there's also the other parts with like power lines going across valleys, that birds are colliding with power lines. There's the cats and pigs that are finding the birds very tasty, and so they have all these predators that are eating them and destroying burrows, and so the numbers are dropping pretty dramatically, and we're trying to keep refuge for a lot of them that are out there.
Any estimate on numbers currently?
It's hard to estimate numbers. What we're working on is trying to get to all parts of the island to see where they're at, and there seems like there may be like a couple thousand pairs maybe on the island, but it's hard to say because we haven't done surveys in all areas, and actually we're trying to get a comprehensive study of the island to see how many are actually out there.
And finally, what's the key message you hope these kids will take away from this experience today?
What was it again?
What's the key message you hope these kids will take away from this experience today?
The key message I hope the kids will take from this release today is that they have a special bird to their island. This bird is not seen anywhere else, and it is something that they can help protect and save, saying that this is part of our culture, this is part of our island. These birds were here before we even came here, and we can help save them and keep them around here for future generations to enjoy.